Hello, bestie. Welcome back. Can we talk? First of all, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like no matter how badly you want to change, grow, or achieve something new, there's always something holding you back? Like a part of you is pulling the emergency brake just when you're about to hit the gas? And the craziest part, it's not someone else doing it to you, it's you. That sneaky little thing called self-sabotage. That quiet voice in your head that whispers, this isn't for you, or it's gonna go wrong. And we believe it, right? We believe it and give up. And then we feel awful for giving up. Self-sabotage is way more common than we think, and way more silent too. It doesn't show up yelling, it shows up disguised as logic, caution, or perfectionism. But deep down, it comes from insecurities, fears, and stories we've been carrying since way back. So today, we're going to dive into this topic, understand why we sabotage ourselves, how to recognize it in real life, and most importantly, how to break out of this cycle. Because you deserve to stop holding yourself back and finally allow yourself to become everything you're meant to be. So if you're ready for a mental, physical, and spiritual glow up, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a thing. Okay, first let's get clear. Self-sabotage is when, even though you really want something like switching careers, taking care of your health, getting into a healthy relationship, or simply putting yourself first, you start creating obstacles that block you from moving forward. Sometimes without even realizing it, you procrastinate. Quit halfway, hide out, make excuses, or start believing you're not capable. And it's not because you're weak, lazy, or indecisive. It's because deep down, part of you learned to protect yourself by avoiding risk, rejection, or failure. And that part acts like it's saving you from pain, but in reality, it's keeping you from growing. Self-sabotage is kind of like an emotional trap we set for ourselves. And it can be super subtle, like in the way we think. Other times, it shows up through our actions, like missing deadlines, starting stuff and quitting halfway through, or getting involved with people we already know aren't good for us. At the root of it all is fear, dressed up in different outfits. Fear of failing, fear of succeeding, and not knowing how to handle it. Fear of stepping out of our comfort zone. But real talk, growth takes guts. And courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is taking action even when you're scared. We only start to break this cycle when we realize that the sabotaging voice is not who we are. Honey, self-sabotage doesn't just keep us from chasing our dreams. It also makes us doubt our own worth. Every time you sabotage yourself, even in small ways, like quitting a project you were excited about, being late to something important, or simply not believing in yourself, you're sending a message to your subconscious that you're not capable. And the worst part? That lack of confidence turns into a vicious cycle. The more you sabotage yourself, the harder it gets to trust your own abilities and choices. You start to feel small, powerless, like you're not cut out to reach your goals, even when, deep down, you know you totally are. Alright, but how do we even know if we're sabotaging ourselves, or if we're just tired, lost, or facing a legit doubt? First, you always start things super hyped, but never finish. You know that excitement of kicking off a new project? But after a few days, you lose focus and drop it all? That's super common when we're in self-sabotage mode. We start full of energy, with big plans and promises. But once things start requiring more effort, or once the fear of failure kicks in, the motivation disappears. Then the cycle repeats. Ideas that never make it past the planning stage. This doesn't mean you're not capable, it just means something's blocking you from making it to the finish line. Second, you have amazing ideas but always feel like you're not ready yet. This one's a classic. You know you've got great ideas and dreams, but you always come up with a reason not to act on them. Maybe you feel like you need to study more, improve more, wait for the perfect timing, and before you know it, that timing never comes. That's a clear sign of self-sabotage. Perfectionism and insecurity take the wheel, and the fear of not being good enough stops you in your tracks. But deep down, you know that perfect moment doesn't exist. The magic is in starting and figuring it out along the way. Third, when something good happens, you feel like it was luck or that you don't deserve it. This is one of the sneakiest ways self-sabotage shows up. You know when you accomplish something amazing, but instead of feeling proud, you brush it off like it was just luck or that you didn't really earn it. That happens because self-sabotage digs deep into our self-esteem. When you feel like that, you start downplaying your wins and stop letting them actually build you up. You might even feel bad about good things happening to you, like you're not worthy of them. Fourth, you sabotage yourself through procrastination, harsh self-criticism, or creating unnecessary drama. The fear of failure often shows up as procrastination. And when we're in self-sabotage mode, we tend to create a whole dramatic mess in our heads. So you keep putting things off, letting tasks pile up, and the anxiety keeps growing. Harsh self-talk and perfectionism jump in, whispering that you'll never be good enough to finish what you started. But the more you procrastinate, the more pressure you feel, and the cycle of self-sabotage keeps going. And finally, you're scared to put yourself out there, even though you know it would help you grow. That fear of judgment and being seen can be a huge block when you're stuck in self-sabotage. You know deep down that if you showed up more, shared your talents, your ideas, and even your vulnerability, it would take you to the next level. But just the thought of being criticized or rejected makes you freeze. That fear keeps you from shining, from being seen for who you really are. And trust me, hiding yourself is not doing you any favors. In fact, it's an invisible cage that's holding you back from growing. Self-sabotage feeds off this fear, and every time you hide, you delay your biggest wins. Okay, so how do you stop self-sabotaging? Well, here are some tips that might help. First step, notice when you're self-sabotaging. Honey, the first thing is just to notice it. When you catch yourself procrastinating or making excuses not to move forward, pause for a second and ask yourself, am I actually out of energy or am I just scared of taking the next step? That tiny question can help you see your own patterns. The more you know yourself and understand what triggers your self-sabotage mode, the easier it gets to break that cycle. Don't be ashamed if you recognize yourself in this. Everyone goes through it. The key is to notice and choose to shift. Second step, let go of perfection and just take action. One of the biggest things that holds us back is perfectionism. And seriously, no one is ever 100% ready. There's always going to be fear of messing up, of not doing it right, of not living up to expectations. But here's the thing, if you wait for the perfect moment, you'll never move. The key is to start even if it's messy and figure it out along the way. Give yourself permission to make mistakes, to learn, and to grow. What matters is that you take that first step, and with time, confidence will follow. Third step, change your inner talk. You know that little voice that says you're not good enough? Yeah, it's time to shut her down. Start talking to yourself the way you talk to your best friend, with love, patience, and support. Instead of tearing yourself apart, ask yourself what you'd say to a friend who was scared. You wouldn't tell her to give up on her dream just because she's nervous, right? So treat yourself the same way. When that sabotaging voice pops up, stop it in its tracks and replace it with something kind and encouraging. Fourth step, build small habits that support your self-care and confidence. Start taking care of yourself in real, practical ways. Create tiny daily habits that build your confidence. It could be something simple like writing your goals down, making a list of your wins and qualities, or carving out time for something that makes you feel good, like going for a walk, reading something uplifting, or taking a relaxing shower. These little moments of self-care will help you reconnect with your power and give you the energy to move forward. Just a reminder, self-sabotage often shows up when we stop taking care of ourselves. And the last step I've got for you today is ask for help and don't be afraid to reach out. Sometimes we feel like we have to handle everything on our own, but sharing your feelings and challenges with other women can be so healing. Whether it's a friend, family member, or even a therapist, having someone who listens and supports you can make all the difference. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. Reaching out makes you stronger, not weaker. Don't be so hard on yourself, girl. You don't have to do it all alone, and asking for support is actually a huge part of healing. Girl, the truth is, we've all self-sabotaged at some point in life, and it's okay to admit that. What matters is realizing you don't have to keep living in that cycle. You are capable, you are worthy, and you absolutely can make those dreams happen. But to do that, you've got to stop hiding behind fear and start trusting yourself more. Don't wait for anyone else's approval to go after what you want, and don't wait to be perfect to feel ready. Start from where you are with what you've got. So please, stop sabotaging yourself and start choosing yourself. That's it, I love you.